living fully alive in every way. You're listening to Relationship Prescriptions with Dr. Carol.
Welcome, friends. It's Dr. Carol, and this is Relationship Prescriptions. Welcome to 2020. And I am welcoming an old friend of ours here on Relationship Prescriptions, Woodley Auguste. Hi again, Woodley. It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a while, Dr. Carol. How are you? And happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. And I got to ask you a question, Woodley. Are you one of those people that makes New Year's resolutions?
I am. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you're speaking with. I do make resolutions just about every single year on things that I need to improve, whether it's spiritually, physically, whatever habit that I might be trying to break, you name it, this is when it happens.
You know, there's so many of those plans that you can get out there, you know, your best life this next year and, you know, templates and all kinds of things. I think we all kind of have a feeling that, you know, a new year is a new start and we're ready to step it up and change things. And it's just kind of a natural rhythm. I'm going to ask you, Woodley, what is one thing that you do want to be different in 2020?
To have a deeper walk with the Lord. That would be one of the primary things that I think that I know I desire, and I'm sure other people do. You know, whether it's to pray more, get a deeper understanding of the scriptures, all those things there are certainly very important to me.
I made a resolution 2 years ago. And that resolution I wrote down. It was part of my yearly plan, started in 2018. And I wrote down that I wanted to spend an hour with the Lord every morning. That was part of my resolution for 2018. And over the last 2 years, that has become a habit. Now, am I 100% meeting that goal every single day, 365? No. But it has become such a part of my life that making that decision to actually take action changed the way I started my days. It's not that I wasn't spending time with the Lord before, but just to make that crystal clear goal that this is what I wanted my time with God to look like, really stepped up my engagement with Him on a very personal level. For me, I've discovered that those kinds of actions are really important in making these resolutions a part of your life.
Really? Now, how did you go about doing that? Because I know there's always the resistance that takes place, Dr. Carol. What are some of the things that you had to implement to see that come into fruition?
One of the things I noticed myself doing is when I would get up and put on my pot of coffee, that I would open my phone as my coffee was percolating, and I'd check email or check social media, and that would sidetrack me. So the time I had available for God a lot of it would end up getting spent on other things. So I made the decision that I was going to put my phone somewhere separate so that I would not be tempted to open it and start reading all these other things before I spent time with the Lord. I could, open the blinds or do something else for those couple minutes while my coffee was making. And I noticed something that was distracting me from my goal and changed that small thing. When we have a big goal, it's really helpful and important to break that down into smaller things. So when my goal became, I want to spend an hour with the Lord in the morning, I had to break that down to one of the things I had to do was put my phone somewhere else so that wouldn't distract me while I was making my coffee. And then I'd get my coffee and sit down with the Lord. And breaking it down in smaller pieces like that helped me be much more successful in starting that new habit.
Now that's fantastic. And certainly I applaud you for doing that and now being consistent for all these years, or 2 years now, going into the third. Did you have an accountability mechanism or someone that you shared with your goal and that would routinely, follow up with you and say, hey, how's that going for you, or anything like that?
I was journaling about it. that was the method that I used personally in being accountable in that way. And there had been times in my life when I had been consistent in the past. So it was something that wasn't totally out of what I knew was possible in my life. It needed to reach a new level of intentionality. And so I made it a practice in my life to journal every week about how that was going. And I had already begun the practice of journaling, so I just made reflecting on that part a practice. In my case, I didn't make myself accountable to somebody else, but you've raised something, Woodley, that we do absolutely know. And that is that if you need to start a new habit, uh, telling somebody else that you're going to do that really increases the likelihood that you'll be successful. Something else that increases that likelihood is that you actually write it down, that the goal you have is measurable and specific and written down, and then that you tell somebody else. So I did several of those things. I found that in that particular habit, I didn't need to tell somebody else. But in other cases, when I've needed a new habit, I have had to tell somebody else, and it has really made a difference.
Wow. So, you're pretty self-disciplined. What are some of the insights that you've gleaned from, you know, making those resolutions, those things that we desire to change in our life? Uh, what have you learned just through your own practice and your own diligence in really moving, getting that incremental shift, if you will, to happen in your daily life, whether it's spiritually, physically, or even emotionally?
One of the big things is recognizing the difference between hoping for something and taking action to make something different. It's been said, and this is not new with me, that insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. We know that our actions is the only thing that can make a different outcome, and that's very different than hoping. So if I said I'm hoping to be more physically fit next year, that doesn't do anything. But if I open my steps tracker on my phone and make a goal of this many thousand steps every day, and then I actually get on my running shoes and go outside and take those steps, that is going to result in a very different outcome. In the business and performance world, they talk about the difference between lead measures and leg measures. Leg measures is measuring something after the fact. Okay, I made this much money, or my body mass index is this, or I'm emotionally at this particular point, or my relationships, this is the quality of those relationships. That's great. You need to know where you are, and you need to follow up how those things are changing. But much more important, if you want to change the state of any of those areas of your life, is that you change the lead measures. You change something that you're doing up front that will lead to a different outcome. And I already mentioned another habit that I started just not very many months ago, and that was tracking my steps every day. I've been journaling about my time with the Lord in the morning, and I've been tracking my steps every day. Those kinds of actions change the outcome.
Well, you've touched on quite a few things. You've touched on things related to our spiritual well-being and of course our physical well-being. What are some things that we can implement for emotional wholeness? What are some of the things that we can do that would really create that positive shift?
I'm thinking of Paul's statement in Philippians 4:8, think on these things. That is a scriptural expression of something scientific research has proven in many ways. And that is what you focus on, what you choose to think about becomes bigger. We know this, for example, in pain management. If we can help patients experiencing pain to focus on something different, their pain is much less a factor in limiting their function. It happens in relationships between people. If you and I, Woodley, are struggling with something in our friendship,
Mhm.
and I complain and focus on the things that aren't going well, that's going to just create more conflict. But if I notice, thank you, Woodley, for handling this issue in our ministry programs. You did this, it worked, and I appreciate that. Thank you. That's focusing on something positive. And when you do that, when you choose what to focus on, that thing becomes bigger in your mind. It eclipses a lot more of the negative. It's not ignoring problems, but it's magnifying what you want more of in your mind, in your life, in your emotions.
Wow. Wow. So, based on our discussion, I mean, there's certainly a few things that are synonymous. Having someone that you can hold you accountable to, or within the context of community, identifying the issue, and then doing the necessary steps to reframe things. Now, how long have you, in terms of what you've been doing for resolutions, with working with people, how long has it taken for it to really take root in people's lives?
We know that a simple habit can begin to take root within 21 days. We also know that for that to be permanent, it actually takes a few months of consistent investment. Now, um, it, that may seem like a long time, and it may seem like a difficult goal. So, one of the things I think is most important is to focus on taking the small action steps now for the future that you want. This is a principle. I know you and I have talked at other times about this, Woodley, that focusing on that future, on that desired future, becomes really important. And I want to frame this for us who believe in Jesus, for those of us who are following Jesus, in kind of two ways. The kingdom of God is here, really. Jesus came. We've just celebrated Christmas. He came on the first Christmas, not that it was December 25, but we celebrate his coming. And when he entered this world, God's presence and the kingdom of God was here in reality. Our lives are different today because he came. And yet, there are still things in our lives, in our world, that are not yet as God would have them. So when we talk about positive action, positive emotions, God acting in our lives, we need to keep in mind that the future is both in this world now and also in eternity. We can't fall into the trap of expecting everything to be perfect here and now, because we were made for eternity. Even Jesus had to keep his eyes on eternity. It says in Hebrews 12:2 that Jesus, for the joy set before him, endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. He had to keep his eyes on the glory that he was moving toward. That included saving human beings. It also included the eternity that he is bringing us to share with him. We need to keep our eyes on that same thing. It's making the positive changes to live every bit of the fully alive life that Jesus came to give us here and now, and also knowing that the fullness is yet to come in eternity. And there is a little bit of tension there. And that is part of where our mental focus can be stretched, can be engaged in energizing us now, but also giving us hope when not every one of our actions leads to all the results that we might wish here and now.
Now, you've mentioned some very interesting things, about being kingdom minded. How does our mind? What is the correlation between our mind and will and emotions? How does that work?
Jesus came to save all of us. Our creation, God made us as integrated human beings. So focusing only on our outward behavior doesn't get us very far. The inner heart life is what God is most interested about and what makes the biggest difference. Even Paul says, exercising the body creates some gain, but godliness creates great gain. My going out and jogging and taking my steps every day, that's helpful. It's good. I will be healthier. I will have more energy. But it's not only that outward behavior. That, in fact, that very action, I'll use that as an example, that very action in my life is important, not because I'm taking X number of steps a day. It's important at a much deeper level because the more physically active I am, the clearer my brain is, which means I can hear from God better. It also gives me better resilience in my relationships. I can think clearly. When Woodley, you and I are talking together, I can think more clearly there. I have more in me to give to the people that come to our online community, or that come for coaching, or the writing that I do. All of those things are more effective when I take care of my physical body. So when God says, my kingdom is here, and I invite you to enter my kingdom, and that was Jesus' message when he was here, it's all of the above. And so when we take actions to step up our functioning in some of those dimensions, it really impacts all the dimensions of our lives, physically, emotionally, relationally, and spiritually. They're all connected.
Wow. Wow, that's powerful. So there is hope that I can start waking up at 4 a.m. as opposed to 5:30 a.m.
Well, yes. And when we talk about making these positive changes for 2020, one of the principles is you take one small step at a time, changing everything in your life all at once in dimensions that you're not going to be able to stick with. It isn't effective either. Even when it comes with our relationship with God, he sees us as he is creating us to be. He is much more concerned with the direction we're going than with the current level of achievement where we are. It's not that we try harder to do more stuff. It's that when the Holy Spirit opens up an area of our life that we are invited to take a forward step in, you do that. And that has multiple compounding implications for both your own effectiveness, your joy, and honestly, even eternity.
Wow. So just to if you could recap, Dr. Carol, in terms of the steps that we need to take to have a renewed focus in 2020, it would be having someone to be accountable to. It would also be taking things incrementally rather than taking and trying to make all these multiple, a plethora of changes in our lives. And then what's the other component?
I would say invite Jesus into the process. And all of those really come together in community. Sometimes it's hard to really know what next step should I take. I can want to lose weight, but I know I've tried before and it hasn't really worked. Well, connecting with the community of others who are taking those steps can be so helpful. It helps me know what steps to take, and it brings the encouragement, accountability, affirmation to continue doing that. When I'm dealing with emotional challenges on the inside, getting around other people who are also walking forward to live fully alive emotionally does the same thing. It kind of checks me when I get down. It brings me ideas and affirmation and encouragement to keep stepping forward. Same thing with my spiritual life. Now, I mentioned at the start of the podcast a really big resolution I instituted in my life a couple of years ago. If you are not spending time with God every day. That might be a step that's beyond what you can do right now. But just hanging around other people who are growing in grace, who are wanting more of what God has for them, can fuel your ability to institute whatever small steps may be appropriate for you. Maybe that's signing up for a Bible reading plan on the YouVersion Bible app that takes 5 or 10 minutes a day, but it makes it a new habit. And hanging around other people who are doing the same thing, it kind of brings all that together. It brings the fuel and encouragement to take those steps and to stick with it.
So the adage is true that we are similar to the people that we hang around with. Is that correct?
It's so true. That has been shown over and over again. It's been shown in the quality of your marriage, in the quality of your personal relationships. It's been shown to be true in your physical health, in your level of physical fitness, in the quality of the food that you eat. It's been shown in your wealth, in how you handle your money, the money that ends up in your bank account, and how well you retire. It's been shown in your spiritual growth. Think of the people you know who are older, senior citizens. Some of them are miserable and shriveled up, both emotionally and physically, and nobody likes to be around them, and they're just prickly and, to say it gently, just waiting to die. Other people who may be just at an older age, they've been through just as many life challenges, but you get around them and you are inspired. They bring life just by their presence, and you want to learn more of their story and be around them. Those two tracks, a large measure of which direction those people have gone is, who have they hung around? And so I want to ask our listeners, who are you hanging around? Who are the people that you are investing time and engagement with in your life? Are they going in a direction that you want to go? I think that's a pretty insightful question. Just take the time to ask that. Are the people you are spending time with going in the direction that you want to go?
Powerful truths, Dr. Carol. I think I've got to work through some things and revamp my list in terms of my resolutions this year.
Well, one resolution that I would actually like to invite our listeners to make, if you are surveying the people around that you're connected with in your life, and you're finding that lacking, that the people you connect with, maybe they're not going in the direction that you'd like to go. Well, I would like to invite you to consider joining our Fully Alive group. This is our online community that we have been finding so helpful and encouraging for those who have chosen to be part of this group. In fact, one of our friends in the Fully Alive group just wrote this just within the last few days. She said, the Fully Alive group is something that has profoundly shaped me in 2019, and I've tasted God's restoring grace. So I want to ask you, if you're listening, are you connected with people who can say that about their journey with God? If not, the Fully Alive group can help you connect with those very kinds of people.
Now, how do we go about, if someone is interested in joining the Fully Alive group, how do they go about doing that, Dr. Carol?
Oh, thank you, Woodley, for asking. You can go to fullyalivegroup.com, fullyalivegroup.com. And I'm really excited that we can talk about this right now. We have made some wonderful updates and refreshing our online home. This is our encouraging online community where you can connect with people just like our friend who just wrote that message, who are growing in every dimension to experience the fully alive kind of life that Jesus came to bring us, physically, emotionally, relationally, and spiritually. This online community is headquartered, our online home is fullyalivegroup.com. And I would encourage people to come and check us out. If you do that, you will find a place to enter your email address and get a taste of what happens inside the Fully Alive group. And if you text Fully Alive to 44222, we'll send that directly to your email, where you can get a taste of the downloads, of the videos, of the online community that we make available there at fullyalivegroup.com. One very special thing we have that I do want to highlight is, if this sounds interesting, come and join us for 2 weeks free. You can see there at fullyalivegroup.com that there's a monthly option or a yearly option. You can choose either one of those options to join us, and your first 2 weeks are absolutely free. And if you do that, you can taste everything that's a part of our online community. And I would really encourage you to come and check us out. This is a online community to help you choose your focus for 2020.
Powerful. So a new community could actually be part of our 2020 resolution, where we can find some like-minded believers to encourage us, to help us on the journey of becoming whole spiritually or emotionally.
In this online community, we get below the surface. You have an increased level of connection with me, as well as the others. Getting below the surface gives you both the insight and the encouragement to take these steps. God designed us to grow in community. And Woodley, I hear from people regularly that aren't finding that connection with the people in their lives right now. That's what this online community can make available for you. fullyalivegroup.com. Well, Woodley, I want to thank you for sharing your plans for resolutions and unpacking some of this today. You're an old friend, and we need to have you here on the podcast a bit more often. I think it's fun talking with you about these things.
Well, I always enjoy being on the podcast with you. It's always delightful, and of course, always come back a better person, a better thinker after every interaction with you, Dr. Carol.
Well, thanks, Woodley. And for all our listeners, I pray that this gives you some insights on steps you can take for 2020. One more time, fullyalivegroup.com, or text Fully Alive to 44222. And until next time, may God bless you.
Thank you for listening to Relationship Prescriptions with Dr. Carol. Our purpose is to provide trustworthy resources that help you and others live fully alive in every way as God intended. If you would like to help others experience transformation in their lives and relationships, we invite you to partner with us. Text the word GIVE, that's GIVE, to the number 512-980-1620, or visit our website at drcarolministries.com/donate to make a one-time contribution or monthly gift. Your financial support allows us to expand our message and to help others. Thank you so much, and may God bless you.